Hi everyone, welcome to your first lesson for Cycle 4, which is balance. And the first lesson is on motion. So how do you know when something's moving? In order to be able to really tell when something's moving, you have to be able to compare it to what's called a reference point. A reference point is something that is not moving. So you might have experienced this before when you're at a red light and you feel like your car is moving, but it's not. It's really the car next to you moving. So when an object changes position over time, in comparison to a reference point, which is something that isn't moving, it's said to be that that object is in motion. So speed is a measure of how quickly an object gets from one place to another. This truck is traveling at 60 miles per hour, which means the truck travels 60 miles every hour. So it's a distance and a time. The jet is traveling at 350 meters per second. Obviously much quicker than the truck because it's going in meters, which is around 3 feet per second. So velocity is a little bit different from speed. The speed of an object does not depend on the direction that it's traveling. However, the velocity of an object is the speed and the direction in which it's moving. So this car is traveling north with a velocity of 10 meters per second. And when we deal with speed, you'll see them in meters per second for the units, and you'll also see the units as miles per hour. In an upper level physics class, you will only see it in meters per second. You will very rarely see it in miles per hour. So as this car goes around the corner, the speed of the car remains constant, but the velocity changes. So all that means is that the car is not changing speed, it's just changing direction. There is a speed and velocity song, and this is actually a link underneath the video. So when you're done with this, I'd like for you to go and listen to it because it's really kind of cool. All right, so how is speed calculated? The speed of an object can be calculated using this equation. Speed equals distance over time. And you guys are doing equations or already have done equations in math. So this is just a simple one-step equation. Distance is always measured in meters, or most of the time in meters. Time in seconds, and then the units for speed would be meters per second. Again, the standard unit for speed in physics is meters per second, but there's other units such as kilometers per hour when you're using something that's measuring the speed of vehicles, and that is because they travel over longer distances. When you're talking about measuring something that's going a short distance, meters per second, or something that's going really fast, meters per second. There is another video link that is on the website, so you can check this one out on constant speed. All right, so we're going to do a couple practice questions on calculating speed. So a train takes 100 seconds to travel 1,500 meters. What is the speed of the train? So remember, our formula is speed equals distance over time. So you look up at the problem and you circle the distance. So is 100 seconds the distance, or is 1,500 meters the distance? It's 1,500 meters, and then you put it over 100, and voila, you have your speed in meters per second. You can use a formula triangle to help you rearrange a formula. I don't really know how I feel about this. In a way, it's kind of cheating out your algebra skills, but in a way, it also can help your algebra skills because you can see how things work or how things are rearranged in a one-step equation. So how this works is you see the triangle, D, distance, S, speed, and T, time. And if you're looking for the speed, you would take your finger and put it over the S, and there you have your formula. It would be D over T. And the bar that's going through the middle horizontally always indicates division, and the bar that's coming down vertically in between the S and the T indicates multiplication. So whatever quantity you're trying to find, you cover up, and that will give the rearranged formula needed for the calculation. So if you were trying to find distance, you would cover the D up with your finger, and it would be speed times time. If you were trying to find time, you would cover the T up, and it would be distance divided by speed. So to find speed, cover up the S, and you have d divided by t. All right, so here you go. You're going to practice. A car travels at 25 meters per second for 3 minutes. How far does it travel? So you have the speed and you have the time, but you don't have the distance. So you set up your formula triangle, you cover up the distance, you notice that the formula will give you what's left over is S times T, and that is 25 times 180. It's a distance, and so it's in meters. This converted it to kilometers, but you don't have to do that right now. Acceleration of an object is a measure of how fast its velocity changes. So a train accelerates in a straight line from rest. From rest means it's not going at all. There's no speed. As it does, its velocity increases. However, the brakes on this motorcycle are causing it to slow down. This is called negative acceleration or deceleration. Acceleration, I'm going to teach you how the formula works, although you won't be actually calculating anything for acceleration. Acceleration is very much like speed, except for you use the change in speed, which is meters per second, and you use time. So acceleration is measured in meters per second squared because you have 2 seconds to take into account. I am going to skip over some of these, and these are going to be some extension work for our unit on motion. Responsible for the speed problems, and the acceleration will be extension. Okay, so practice problem. A car moves 240 meters west in 120 seconds. What is the velocity? Now remember, velocity and speed are the same thing, only velocity has a direction with it. So you have distance, 240 meters, and you have time, 120 seconds. So speed equals distance over time. Don't forget that, even though it's asking for velocity. It's the same formula, just with a direction. So your answer would have to have